I'm like, I'll forget. So. Your first one was a little guarded. This one seems to be a little scatterbrained.
That would make sense.
Appreciate that. Even the way the card came out. Okay. All right then. So usually when I do these, I draw 2 to 4 stacks for 2 to 4 different guides. The second one's kind of interesting. Just depending on who all. Okay. Who all is really at the forefront right now. Some people have a lot more than that. Some people don't. All right, look, I'm not doing that today. Yeah, your first one's a little forceful.
My first one, what?
It's a little forceful. Like very stubborn, very, you're gonna do this, kind of hard-headed. Like irritated that I'm even trying to get information. The second one that was cracking me up. Holy shit. So you probably, oh, well, my camera's up where you can't see very well, but so I have that one here that I was talking about that's kind of very closed off, very forceful. And you have the second one that's very kind of scatterbrained all over the place. And then I have 2 more here. Well, their cards flew out at the same time. Like their first anchor card flew out at the same time, both in the same direction. Like, okay, I'm gonna leave you all there. And then when I'm shuffling these to get kind of what they're here to help you with, this one had 2 cards fly out together, like whoop, and slide right there. I'm like, okay then. And then literally the next time I shuffled, the same thing happened. They only had 1 card. And then it was like, oh no, wait, I need another one too. So it's really, so just the way I pay attention to the way the cards come out too. So just the way those cards are coming out tells me that those 2 in particular are kind of tied together. I haven't used this deck in a while. You know where your family comes from? Like heritage wise, lineage wise?
My father's, no. My mother's is German, Russian, Polish. My father, though, was born and raised in Oklahoma, and I don't know a lot about his ancestry.
Okay. Are you here in Oklahoma?
No, California.
I was like, wait, are you here in Oklahoma?
Oh, I'd be knocking on your door all the time. Could you help me? Okay.
This one on the end is like super vocal. It's really funny. Come on now. I just need one. Just one or two. Okay, two it is. Gotcha. Much better. I appreciate that. These ones, cards are everywhere. So get all comfy. So with this person I was talking about that I said was like very hardcore with stuff, I think this very first card that kind of anchors there. So I use these cards in a specific order for a reason, and I think that their anchor card for their personality is really funny because it's the obsession card. So I just, when I flipped that over, I went, oh, I got you. But they have the obsession card, then they have envious gluttony, then they have the beloved, then the lost compass, which is kind of getting back to integrity. Then they have potential, and they have nurture and create. So kind of what I'm going to do is go through and say, like, give you an overview of the person, because I have a feeling you know this person. This is a guy. It's very, very strong masculine energy. Very matter of fact, very do what I say. I mean, just very almost overbearingly crazy with it. But with this one in particular, this guy, I don't think he was the greatest person in life. Just because of the gluttony card and because of the lost compass, and it's kind of whopper jawed. So part of the reason that he is a spirit guide right now is to work out and try to fix some of the things he did in life. So I don't know if he did these to you, around you, to people around you, what, but yeah, he wasn't the greatest guy. And he knows that he wasted an amazing amount of potential when he was here being this not so great guy. So part of what he is here, he gives me a horrible headache. What the fuck? He gives me a horrible headache, like right here. As soon as I acknowledged it, it went away, but it was like, man, I don't even know how to describe that. It was really intense. It was really hard. With him, with the wasted potential, one of the things about when you become a spirit guide, when you pass over, my dogs are probably going to bark in a minute because I hear somebody come up the stairs. You get to see everything with your life that you did do, you didn't do, etc. And then when you're assigned as a spirit guide, or you ask to be assigned as a spirit guide, you see everything about this other person's life. So they see every bit of potential in you. They see every bit of the parts of you that you've kept down for so long. So they're really pushing you forward, like hardcore, within the last, I'm going to say 5 to 6 years, but really, really hardcore within the last 3 years. It's like they were pushing, they were giving you signs, they were pushing you forward. And it's like you didn't fully want to step into it yet for some reason. And so they kept pushing until it got to the point you couldn't ignore it anymore. Like they were sending so many signs and putting so many roadblocks in your path on the one you were on that you literally could not ignore it anymore. So they're doing it for the right reasons. He's just going about it in a little bit of a hardcore way. What's interesting about it, well, it's got its good and its bad with this, is he's not gonna stop being this way either. It's the only way he knows how to be. It's just how his soul always is. It's very almost overbearing. So when he feels that something is in your highest good, or he knows something is in your highest good, he's kind of going to force it to happen. So this is why when you get these signs that you need to make a decision and you think you have time to make the decision, things get removed quickly on purpose to force you to make that decision. He's very impatient. He's very impatient. So I don't know if you know who he is or not, but he's very impatient. So when you're having things getting removed from your life, when you're having roadblocks put in, like you set something in motion, like, okay, I want to go down this path. This is what I want to do. And then suddenly it's like roadblock, roadblock, roadblock. And not only is it a roadblock, but it's like it shoves you back hardcore. And you're like, all right, fine, fine. I'm not going to go that way then. That's him doing that stuff. It's like he is purposefully hardcore putting you where you're supposed to be. He could be a little nicer with it. He literally could be a little nicer with it. I'm kind of saying that out loud mainly for him because like, dude, you could be a little nicer with it. Oh, I was like, what is that? So he's kind of a prick. I mean, he really is. What sucks is he's being so hardcore with your stuff that he's not learning the lesson he needs to learn. I have a feeling he did that in life too, throwing himself into work, throwing himself into a situation, into a relationship, into anything, so he didn't have to deal with his own stuff. So that would be this gentleman right here. There's also a lot of red here. A lot of red and a lot of fives. So red usually signifies action and passion and pushing forward. It can also signify a lot of anger. But here, what's funny is, so half the cards are red and half of them are darker and have blue in them, which the shades of blue that are in here are very deep, which is a lot of protection. So it tells me that he feels very protective over you too. So he is removing things thinking that it's in your own good. It's almost like he's removed some lessons you needed to learn too. That's cute. He did it for your good, just like to protect you. But at the same time, it's like, we can't always protect our kids from getting hurt. Just like, it's like, you can't always protect, a human from getting hurt when you're a spirit guide, but he's pretty powerful. He's pretty powerful. He has a very strong will. But he doesn't want to show me anything about what he looks like. He's irritated to begin with that. Yeah, he's irritated. But he can just get happy in the same pants he got irritated in. That's how I feel about that. I like that. I don't really care. So, like I said, he's kind of an interesting dude. He hasn't been around you your whole life, so he's not one you were assigned. We all have different spirit guides. We have some we're assigned at birth that are with us until we die. And then as we lose people along the way, they sometimes become spirit guides or whatever. So he's one that became a spirit guide, I would say at least 7 years ago, 7 to 8 years ago. He's been hardcore pushing you down a path for 5 to 6 years. It's like he tried the subtle way to begin with because he was still figuring some things out. And now he's a very intelligent guy. He's figured out a lot of things on how to manipulate your path. So whenever you have things happen and etc., and you have something removed from your path or a roadblock or whatever, like you can literally tell him like, hey, look, I need to learn that lesson. Like, please don't remove that from me. Like my soul, me, I need to learn that lesson. Like put it back. You're going to have to be a little gruff with him too, because that's the only thing he's going to understand is being really gruff and hardcore with him. So let's get to the scatterbrain. Because they wanted to throw out a ton of cards. Oh, I didn't realize you threw out 3. Okay, cool. This rune's interesting in that this is one you were assigned. They're very neutral. Like usually a soul, when they're assigned, they give a female or, you know, a feminine or a masculine presence, but this one literally gives a very neutral presence. So it tells me that lifetime wise, they've equally been a woman and equally been a man, like throughout their lives. So they're happy in either one. What's really interesting about this one is that this is their last go around. Their journey is done. So they start off with the persuasion card sideways. Then they have forgetting oneself. They have the journey upside down. They have the empty well upside down, which is like a replenishment card. They have the netcaster, which is helping you prepare for something else. Then they have the freedom card. Then they have transformation and meditation and reflection on life experience. So at first I was gonna be like, this one's gonna be irritating because you're so scatterbrained with all the cards you're throwing out. But I actually think this right here is one of the most important, probably the most important spirit guide you have. Because being that this one is at the end of their journey, like this is their last go around as a spirit guide, they're imparting a lot of knowledge to you that other people aren't privy to. They've done all the things they needed to do in their different lives. They've accomplished the things they were supposed to as spirit guides. But instead of like slacking and not doing anything, it's like they're almost trying to impart too much information to you at times. So it's overwhelming.
That would make sense.
These last 3 cards together, that's why I was like, that's a lot. That's a lot of information. That's transformation and miracles, and then meditation and connecting to higher wisdom, and then reflecting on life experience. And it's like, that's a lot. Like, they obviously know that you can handle it. They obviously know that you're a smart cookie, and they're not, since they've been assigned to you since you were born, they're not going to fling stuff at you that they don't think you can handle. They're going to send stuff that they know you can handle, that they know you need to know, and so on. So it makes me feel like they're preparing you for something, whether it's, you know, the next life is your last life or what. They're literally imparting as much information to you as they can. And it's not a rushed feeling. It's not it's my last time around, I'm gonna slack off. It's not that. They're doing their job. They're doing what they're supposed to do, but they were assigned to you for a reason. What sucks about it is the way that they're imparting the information. It's like they impart it in groups. So it's like instead of just getting a download, you get like 4 at a time. And so then you don't really know which way to go because now you have 4 different things you want to do or that you're fascinated with
Yeah.
or interested in. And you want to do all of them at the same time right now. And so
That pretty much says my life. Yes.
so yeah. I mean, I understand why they're imparting the knowledge the way they are, but at the same time, I don't. You know what I mean? Ooh, yawn. Sorry. I don't know how to explain that better.
Yeah, I don't think you need to explain that one. I think it's more me trying to piecemeal it together to figure out, like, something you had that stuck with me in one of the classes was you said pick 2 things, just
Mhm.
2, because there's going to be so much. So pick 2 things that resonate with you. Well, the problem is that there's so many that resonate because I want to do so many things, um and that's typically always been the case, me taking on too much.
Mhm.
And so I'm trying to figure out, okay, so I need to pick 2 things. So how do I do that?
Right. Well, this one is not helping you there, that's for sure. But it may be that you need to, it may be that you need to pick 3 or 4 and not 2, and then let it narrow itself down as you go. I mean, I wouldn't recommend picking like 6 or 10, you know, but maybe you do need to pick 3 or 4, especially if this spirit guide has been with you your whole life. You're used to working that way. You're used to always having multiple things. Like you're not happy if you just have one thing to do. Your brain has to have, it has to be able to jump from thing to thing to thing when you hit a
Yes, well,
roadblock
that's
or things get hard.
I always call that my ADHD. Like I have to have all this stimulation and,
Yeah.
keep me motivated and
Yeah.
yeah, right, to jump from thing to thing because
Mhm.
I do enjoy doing that.
So I would say, pick 3 or 4 things then.
Hmm.
And when you, I understand that on a deep level. Like I get that way where I'll be reading 3 or 4 books at the same time because after a while you start to read a few pages, you know, you get a couple chapters in or whatever, you're like, kind of bored learning about this. Like I want to learn about something else now. And so I start reading
Right.
something else. Um, it's kind of the same thing. Like give yourself 3 or 4 things and fall down the rabbit hole on them. Change to, you know, from this to this to this when your brain needs to. But there's a reason you're going to be pushed to learn all these things because they're imparting tons of knowledge to you all the time.
Hmm.
And I have a feeling that when you start learning these different things, you're going to pick them up very easily because they've already imparted a lot of different techniques and knowledge to you, that it's just learning about them that's going to ping that back in your brain and bring it to the forefront. So I mean, I'm glad that they're imparting so much to you at one time, but you can, don't be afraid to talk to them and just tell them like, hey, look, I need you to kind of chill out a little bit on this. Like I appreciate all the information, I appreciate all the knowledge, but I'm gonna need you to slow down. I'm gonna need you to chill out for a little bit. Like I gotta process this before you send me anything else. Because otherwise they're gonna keep compiling. They're just gonna keep shoveling stuff on you. Um, this one in particular has a lot of light colors associated with it, whereas that first one was reds and blues, deep colors. This one has a lot of very, very light colors associated with it. There, and the numbers are all over the place too. Like there's a whole bunch of 7s, but there's a whole bunch of 4s. And I'm like, okay, well, so it wouldn't surprise me if 7s and 4s are showing up all the time. Um, there's also an amazing amount of birds in this one. So this one sends a lot of signs through birds and things like that. But when you meditate, when you disconnect, when you find a way to relax your brain and let it zone out a little bit, This one right here is the one that really speaks to you the most, because they already know that first guy is going to be very overbearing. And if they try to do anything or say anything, he's going to jump in. So they just kind of are like, whatever, man. And they just wait till you're kind of chilled out a little bit. This one, I would bet, talks to you a tremendous amount in your sleep.
Hmm.
Like sends you a lot of interesting dreams. And even if you don't remember them, it's like you wake up with a direction on what you need to do that day or with that situation or whatever. They're this one's very, very highly intelligent. They've seen a lot of shit. A lot of shit. I like this one a lot. Even scatterbrained, even, and I don't think scatterbrained is the right thing. It's just, it's so much they're trying to impart to you, I think is the
Right.
thing. So it's hard to determine what needs to happen first.
So when you say there's so much they're trying to impart, does it say what they're trying to impart aside from, I mean, is there a focus?
Well, so one of the main things is getting you to shift into who you're supposed to be. So that's going to be a lot of self-help, a lot of learning how to calm yourself, a lot of meditation, a lot of physical things like how to shift yourself here, how to lucid dream, how to calm your mind, how to connect, like those types of things. Just so you can see where you need to shift. The other thing, the meditation is interesting because even though they're trying to get you to shift and do all these things, they also want you to really connect. That's why I said that they probably talk to you a lot in dreams because of that meditation card. It tells me they're very, very good at connecting on, I have one eyelash that keeps sticking together. They're very, very good at connecting on a unique wavelength. So they need your brain kind of disconnected slightly. So whenever we meditate, holy shit, I'm watching the snow. I just happened to look up and like, I don't know if the wind picked up or what. We got about 4 inches of snow here and I can't see anything off my balcony. It's just snow swirling everywhere. I'm like, okay.
Wow.
It's pretty, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, that's what we're doing now. Okay. When you meditate, when you dream, anything like that, your brain shifts into a different type of wavelength. And so they need your brain in that wavelength for them to be able to really impart a lot of information to you. So I wouldn't be surprised to learn that you have been obsessed with learning how to meditate, learning unique ways of meditating, not just like normal sitting still and meditating, but also in listening to different types of music, different types of frequencies, etc. And with music, especially, these include things like singing bowls, chants, drums, things like that, that it's like they force your brain to be in a different state. So the best time for you to talk to this one is actually when you're falling asleep, because you're shifting down through those different modes.
Mm-hmm.
They're imparting a lot of information to you when you're falling asleep. The other one there, that reflection, they're reflecting on a lot of their experiences and imparting those to you. So when that happens, they're making you go back through different things in your life. They're making you go back through like, okay, well, if I hadn't done this, I wouldn't be here. But if I had done this, maybe I'd be here. Like they're making you go back and make some of these connections to see, okay, I learned all of these things when I was 10 for a reason now. They're making you go back and look at things like that. So it's a lot of, it's interesting. It's a hodgepodge of things, but they all go together at the same time. So I can't quite see what it is that they're planning, but they've been casting all of these nets your whole life.
I can't quite see what they're planning either, which is annoying as heck.
I understand that. I'm like, I need to know what the end goal is here. Like, I need to know the end game, and then we can go from there.
Right.
But yeah, they're very structured in what they're doing. Even if it seems like things are willy-nilly or chaotic, whatever, they're very structured in what they're doing and how they're doing it. So it's really kind of just letting it be what it is, which is, it's something that everybody kind of has to learn as they walk, you know, more of a spiritual path, but it still sucks. Like, I like to have shit planned out. I like
Yeah.
to have shit
I
planned
like
out.
to know where my focus should be, even if it's 5 different things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So here's the thing on this one card. So I have these different like healing cards that tell me kind of what they're here to teach you. One of them has a frequency on it and it's 528. And what I find interesting about that one is because that one's also the one that helps repair DNA. So I would be listening to that one while you sleep or during the day, you know, something like that. Really while you sleep would help tremendously, because I would bet that's one that they use to talk to you with. So by listening to that when you sleep, it kind of already programs your brain to operate on that wavelength. So it makes it easier for them to talk to you and impart knowledge. They're going to show up to you in a dream where you can't see their face. You can't really tell who it is you're talking to. You just know you're talking to someone. I would bet they show up looking very ethereal with robes and things like that, very light colored, but at the same time, they don't ever show their face. And it's one of those where you don't know if you're talking to a man or a woman either.
Yeah,
it's just
true.
like, I know somebody's there. I don't know who it is. I couldn't see them. Because the thing is with the ones that are assigned to us, it doesn't really matter. Like their face doesn't really matter because we're not going to know who they are anyway.
Right.
But yeah, this one's very interesting. This one's very, very interesting. I like this one a lot. Like this is one I'd love to just sit and talk to. Like, yeah, especially because this is they're at the end of their journey. So I would totally recommend listening to that frequency. And you can even tell them like, hey, I know this is the frequency that you communicate with me on. So I'm going to leave this on this evening, you know, but set very clear parameters on it, you know, like I will only talk to you. And I wish I could give you more signifiers, but the bird seems to be very important because when I'm trying to get a signifier for this one, like it's like I keep getting pointed back to looking at the birds. So they really associate themselves with birds.
Birds. Huh.
So you can use that as a signifier, just like, hey, I'll leave myself open to talk to you. But like I said, set very clear parameters. Like I will only talk to you. I'm not going to entertain anybody else, especially that first guy, because he's going to come in and be very overbearing where you don't get to see anything. And I don't think I took a picture of that. Nope, I did not. Coolsies. Get all these back out. At least I remember how they went, so that's good. There we go. Well, because I sat here and looked at it for so long, I'm like, okay, I remember. There we go. Funny, I was really like, man, I don't want to deal with the scatterbrain one. Like, why can't you just think straight? And I'm like, that was kind of my favorite one so far. So let's look at these two, because these two are they came out together and have a bunch of really weird card placements. Bear, honey, please. Okay. Okay, let me do this first. Let's do it first. So this one starts off with the equality card, kind of whopper jawed like that, like upside down. And then they have anchor and chains upside down. And then they have two anchor cards. They have lightning and they have the time master, both right side up. And then they have moving out of stagnation upside down, but they have protecting the future right side up. And then they have lightning upside down. They have magic wand upside down. And then they have unlimited potential at the end.
What does all that mean?
Means I wish I had room to lay both this one and the second one out at the same time so I could see them both, but I have the picture of this one so I can look at them together because they're somehow tied together. But this one right here, this one has, I would say this one's been assigned to you too, but it's like they've stayed off in the distance for a while. I have a feeling this one and the second one, because they're tied together somehow. It's almost like they're a yin and a yang. So one's been really close to you and now that one's moving out and this one's moving in. And I keep seeing them like this too, like one here and one up here. This one right here has really learned how to calm their life, how to calm themselves, how to, I think it's interesting. There's two lightning cards in here and they're like that, yin and yang. One's right side up, one's upside down. They're working off a lot of patience, a lot of protecting your future, a lot of very cautiously moving forward with stuff. It's like they've seen what's happened when you rush forward too much, not just with you, but like in general. They know what happens when you rush forward with things too fast and how great lightning can be, but how bad, how destructive it can be at the same time. What sucks is it plays right into that first guy a little bit because this one in particular, they use his energy a little bit. So when they know that something needs to be removed or paused or whatever, it's like they let him go at it hardcore and kind of are like, yeah, do that. Like they really, it's like they've let him, he has so much energy, they let him expend his energy instead of expending theirs. Like they're very intelligent with it. I keep saying they. Sorry, my son's called twice here. Just a second. I love them, but sometimes I'm like, I'm at work. Like, I'm working. This one right here, I have a feeling is more of the masculine aspect of the two, but I think they kind of switch roles. They're very yin and yang. This one is laid back, trying to push you to your full potential, but protecting you at the same time. So they're literally letting him expend all of his energy and removing roadblocks and stuff. And then they're just like, okay, well, I'm just going to make sure these are in place over here for when this happens. Like, it's really kind of comical the way that it's like they really play on that guy's needs about need to be in control, need to be this, like, they're just like, oh yeah, you should totally do that. Like they're egging him on in some ways. It's really kind of comical. I'm not gonna lie. This one's a very, very intelligent one too. Like they are very calculating. They're very careful in how they manipulate this guy to use his energy. But they're very, very intelligent with where they're pushing you in life. You really have an unlimited potential in going forward. Like you really, really do. So whatever it is you decide to set your mind to learning, set your mind to doing, to being, etc., it's going to be very easy for you to accomplish those things. It's going to be very easy for you to accomplish those things. So if you're like, well, okay, I want to learn how to read cards, or I want to learn how to do this or that or whatever, it's going to come very easy to you because you're going to throw yourself into it. If it's something they want you to do, let me say that you're going to throw yourself into it, and they're going to unlock every single path. They're going to bring in the people to teach you. They're going to bring in the people that you need to be around to learn. Like they're really going to unlock everything that you need to move forward with that. You have an amazing amount of spiritual potential. What I also find interesting is even though there are 2 lightning cards, 2 of the other cards next to them have lightning on them as well.
Lightning meaning what?
Lightning is energy, it's power, it's a driving force. It's also very quick. So they have an amazing amount of energy. What's interesting is they've learned to control it. They've learned how to manipulate it, how to control it. That Time Master card tells me that they've really, really honed that gift over their last few lifetimes and of their cycles, I guess, not really lifetimes, but there's also a lot of number 1s in this, which tells me that they're kind of manipulative in a way, which is why they poke him and let him go forward with the energy of like, I'm doing this. And they're like, yeah, you go do that. You know, like it's what they want to happen anyway. So yeah, they're actually in control, even though he thinks he is.
Right.
So that's kind of comical to me. That's actually really comical to me. Okay, I did get a picture, yeah?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure I took one right off the bat. Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Because I'm dying to see this last. And then I've got the picture up because I'm like, I'm gonna look at both of you together. Like we're gonna take a comparison here. Being that way. Gotcha. So this one is definitely the female. Okay. Where's that picture? What's funny is with her, she starts off with the defense card sideways and then the Queen of My World card. Like, then she has Beauty way upside down, the Gatherer upside down, Transmuting Pain upside down, the Bat upside down. But then she has Liberating. She's to help you liberate a lot of guilt and fear and to help heal a lot of things. I also love that the first couple of cards and a couple of other ones, the first 2 in particular, the ladies on them are in these long flowing red gowns, and every $396, which is liberating guilt and fear. So I have a feeling that when she was more here, she probably got you in trouble a lot when you were younger. And I don't necessarily mean when you were a kid. She has a lot of very feminist queen energy, which has its good and its bad with it because she's a little pushy with it. So whereas he's very calm, like the one right before this, he's more calm and chill and like, okay, well, let's just use the energy that this guy has to get what I want and so on. She's more the hothead with it. Like she's going to do it right now, burn it out. Like, let's just do it. If she's going to get mad and do something right away. Whereas if he gets angry, he's going to play the slow game to get what he wants. With her, it's like, let's do it now.
Mhm.
She's very interesting in that I'm glad that they're doing this ebb and flow with them, because with that potential and so on, if you had her more in charge and more close to you right now, I have a feeling you would kind of be a mess. You would be just absolutely a wreck with running head first like a bull down one path and then turning and going another and then turning and going another. Like, you wouldn't be able to process doing several things at the same time. And that second spirit guide we talked about, it's like they're the architect of where you need to go. These two are there to make sure you get there, and they're just using that other guy's energy to do it. It's kind of interesting. You
But
have
what
several.
drives me crazy is why doesn't it say what path?
Well, yeah, with the spirit guides, they're not going to tell me that usually. They're going to tell me what they're here for, why they're helping you, but they don't usually tell me that. They know a lot of it too. They know what they're here to help you with, why they're here to help you with that. Like with her, she needed you to go through a lot of things that you went through when you were younger. She needed to push you. She needed to make you speak out. She needed to make you be more powerful. She needed to make you walk your path in a more powerful way, instead of just kind of like, okay, like a lot of people do. They get pushed around. She needed you not to be that way. She needed you not to be that way and going forward. So like, you've learned how to be that way. So that's why now they're kind of doing this, where he's more coming in and kind of bringing the calm, but it's not going to take away you speaking your mind, you being on top of things, you being powerful. Like, she brought the power in, and now he's coming in to teach you how to control it and focus it. So they all have purposes, why they're here, what they have to impart to you, and what they have to teach you. With her, it's interesting because she caused you a lot of pain when you were younger to push you into this powerful mode. And she's not the nicest person with it either. So
No shit.
it really tells me that she could have gone about things in a different way and you would have learned the same lessons. But yeah, she wasn't very nice about it. I mean, it's like, she's that person that was like, oh, you need to toughen up, let's toughen you up, and it wasn't just okay, let's do this for a few months. It was like, no, here's all this right now in a couple of hours. Like, she could have gone about things a little differently, in my opinion. But
yeah, I would agree with that opinion.
Yeah, because
And let's shove it all at you for like years and
mhm,
years.
mhm. Yeah. I mean, just seeing that the beauty way upside down, the transmuting pain upside down, the bat upside down, and then having the queen of my world right at the front, like, and her also having the defense card sideways. What irritates me too is that she could have defended you from some of these things. She could have removed them. She could have had a lot of things. She could have changed a lot of things, and she did not. She let them play out the hardcore way they played out, because she was like, oh no, you need to toughen up. So I understand the motives, but I don't at the same time. You know what I mean? I do and I don't. So yeah, she caused you a lot of pain. She caused you a lot of shit, a lot of really hard lessons really quickly. So seeing that with, and I think it's interesting too, because she has the Merkabah end, which is like all levels of healing. She shoved you into becoming who you are, so you would learn how to focus that drive and that passion, and so you would not be a pushover when you're walking down this path of learning everything. In healing from a lot of these things that happened, it's also going to make you much stronger than a lot of other people around you too. So there is good in it. Just she went about it a shitty way.
Yeah. I
So-
definitely see that.
So yeah. Look at him again. He's also, his soul is much older than hers too, but for some reason they're tied together. I mean, they're literally yin and yang. It's really interesting. So I would fully expect that things kind of calm down from here with some of the bullshit, because she's not in charge of those things anymore, if that makes sense. She's not in charge of where you go, how you get there. He kind of is. That second one's the one that's really in charge of everything. But with these two, she's moving out and he's coming in. Like, she's still going to be there. And so if somebody triggers some of those things, they're probably going to get the brunt of her, whether you realize you're doing it or not, but they're going to get the brunt of her with some things. She's got a fuck ton of twos also. Twos and fours. Every card here has a 2 and or a 4 on it. Okay.
What does that signify?
I don't know. I always point them out. I'm not a numerologist, so I always point them out. And so I usually tell people, if you have numbers that are popping up like that, I point them out so you can kind of look them up and see what they are. But yeah, I love repeating numbers and I love seeing them. Like, I always pay attention to on cards, but I'm not. I've tried to like memorize some of them. I just can't. I'm like, I'm not gonna. It's not gonna.
Yeah.
It's just like with astrology. I love it. I'm fascinated with it, and I know just enough to cause problems, and that's about it. So I'm like, this is not my strong suit. I really tried to delve into that when I was younger, and it just, as I got further into it, I was like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And this is why I tell people, like, find a couple of things that you really like, that you're really interested in, and start delving down them. Because if it hadn't
Right.
been for me looking, here's what's really funny, and here's how the universe works with stuff. If it hadn't been for me looking at numbers and numerology, I wouldn't have found palm reading. And I know they're super opposite, but it was something I saw in looking at some numerology online. And it was talking about like how many rings, how many lines on a finger and stuff like that. And I was like, holy shit, that's right. And so then I'm like, now I want to know, well, what does this line mean? And so once I started doing that, I was like, okay, I need to learn this. So I kind of scrapped numerology for palm reading, and I love palm reading. So yeah, that's why I always tell people, I'm like, find 2 or 3, 2 things that you're interested in. With you, I would say 3 or 4. Find those and start delving down them, because it's going to lead you, some weird little random thing like that is going to lead you exactly where your talent lies, where you need to be. It's always funny how the universe works that way. But yeah, it was literally one line in an article I was reading and I'd been studying numerology for months and months. And I was like, I really don't know if I want to do this, but it's really fascinating. And that one little tiny line in this article snowballed everything.
Huh. Yeah, I can see that, because there's so many things that I want to delve into, but I don't retain it. I'm interested, but I'm just not retaining it as something that is going to resonate with me for a long period of time.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so hopefully that happens. But what's always at the head of all of this is always the psychic part, wanting
Yeah, I was gonna say,
work
I would
with.
bet you're more intuitive than you are logical. That's how I am. I'm not gonna remember tarot cards. I'm just not. Like, I'm not
Right.
gonna memorize that whole deck.
Yeah,
Oracle
I bought
cards,
like
I'm all
3
about.
decks, and I can't for the life of me, it just doesn't, I can't memorize it. Yeah. I
Mhm.
don't get them.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I love my Oracle cards. I wouldn't trade them for the world. And so, I mean, I have people all the time ask, why don't you read tarot or whatever? It's like, I don't want to. I keep buying the decks. I'm not going to read. Like, I don't know why I keep buying the deck. I think I just like the aesthetic of them. I like how they feel in my hand. Like, I'll sit here and shuffle them, but I don't ever read with them. I
Yeah.
have two tarot decks that I will read with, but they're really not quite tarot decks. I mean, they have like they're a hybrid. So they have the same number of cards. They do have suits. They do have, the major arcana, etc. But they don't have anything else that signifies that they're a tarot card.
Right.
So, and with them, I only use them for special purposes, and I have to look in the book every time. So
Right.
every time.
Right.
So, but yeah, I just don't read with them. But
Yeah.
have you read the book The Psychic Witch?
No.
So that's one I would totally recommend getting. They have it on Audible as well.
Okay.
I think it would really resonate with you, especially because usually when somebody, it's not that you can't retain information, because we do on a daily basis. It's that your brain's like, no, I don't need to, because your talent lies elsewhere. So I would highly recommend that one. Like I said, it's on Audible. I've listened to it a couple times. I'm on my second read through it. So I was listening to it on the way home from New Orleans. But it's a really, really good book. And there's a lot of really good exercises in there that'll help you strengthen your skills, your abilities, all the clairs and so on. I would bet you're much more of an intuitive person than somebody that's logical. So, and that's not always a bad thing. There's a very fine line, but it's not a bad thing. Most people that are extremely talented when it comes to any type of divination or readings or anything like that are extremely intuitive. You can be logical and you can know how all the cards go together. This is why most logical people are drawn to tarot, because there's a firm set of what the card says.
Mhm.
And where it's placed in a spread and so on. Like, I rarely use the same spread for anything. Like, I have a few, like with I'm saying like a lot. It drives me nuts when I do that. When I do spirit guide readings, I use specific cards in a specific order, but I still leave myself room to play in the middle part, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But even with palm reading, I've learned a couple of different techniques and I use both of them, but I'm also very intuitive with it too. So I don't always sit and memorize a book and then go, okay, this is this. I'm very intuitive with it too. And trusting my gut, I'm always right on with it. So at least I hope I am. Everybody says I am. But yeah, I think that would be a great book for you. I think that it would be one that even after you just listen to the first couple of chapters, you're going to be like, oh my God, like you're really going to connect with that
Yeah.
one.
Okay. Well, it's just, I think it's all about trying to figure out that path
Mhm.
for me, just because I don't know, I'm at that point where I'm going down this whole rabbit hole of the witchy, psychic, all of that stuff
Mhm.
that has been there off and on throughout my life, but I've been busy doing other things,
Yeah. Oh, I understand. I do understand that on a
and
pretty deep level.
yeah, so it's there's a lot of things that resonate with me, but then I haven't made the connection yet, like with vets, like the military. I was not in the military, and I never had I mean, I was in law enforcement, but not the military. But then I kind of fell into training service dogs for disabled vets.
Mhm.
And every time something comes up, doesn't matter if it's on the television, doesn't matter if it doesn't matter what it is, if it mentions military or servicemen or vets, I always get that connection with spirit or whatever you want to call
Yeah.
them. Always, 100% of the time. So I don't know where that connection is. I don't know what that means for me and what I'm supposed to be doing.
Hmm. That's interesting. That's very interesting. So what I would say is you probably have a lot of connections in past lives that you've always gravitated toward that, because even though law enforcement is not military service, it's still not civilian service either. So
Right.
it's still almost there. So you gravitated toward that for a reason. You gravitate toward working with vets for a reason. Um, I would bet that your path is something to do with working with them as well. So,
Yeah. I
um,
just, yeah, I don't know how. I mean, I know it's in helping others. I've always been a service oriented individual, but that connection to military is so intense. Like I always get complete chills up and down whenever it has anything to do with the military,
hmm,
or talking about individual, servicemen or vets or whatever it is. It's always this intense connection. So I'm trying to figure out what the fuck it means and what I'm supposed to be doing with it, you know?
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Well, take a listen to that book. I bet it will help you tremendously. Like I'm just sitting here grinning because I'm like, I want you to listen to it or read it or whatever. I think that I think that you probably have a couple of pieces to put into place before your path is like this golden brick road in front of you.
Yeah, definitely.
But I
Definitely.
don't think it's a lot. I think it's literally two pieces.
That's good.
Well,
It's
sometimes because then it's like finding those two pieces.
yes, yeah. And I have to say with I think I'm one of the oldest in the mentorship Reiki in all of these classes. And not only am I the oldest, I seem to be also the least knowledgeable in like I feel a deeper sense of knowledge. Like I have
Mhm.
for years, I connect with my spirit guides. It's a constant conversation all motherfucking day long. It doesn't stop. And but
Yeah.
at the same time, I know nothing about the terminology, the witchy stuff. I don't, it's like I dabbled in it when I was a kid, and then got spooked by it, and and
Yeah.
then left it. And I know nothing about tarot, and I know nothing about all of these things that everyone else seems to like know, the symbols and the signs and the cards and the this and the that. And I know, jack shit about it. But at the other end of it, I just have questions of, like, what the fuck am I supposed to be doing? What track am I supposed to, get on to get there? What rabbit hole do I need to jump down? And, and then put my work towards doing it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So
So there's a lot to be
that's why I've
said
signed up for
for,
every fucking class you have. I've signed up for.
well, there's a lot to be said for people that are over, I'm going to say really over 40. I mean, over 35, but over 40 in particular. Um, Growing up in 60s, 70s, and 80s, it was much different. You saw a lot of different things. You were more connected to the earth, outside, to
Yes.
things that kids under 35 are not connected to.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and I will tell you, a lot of them, they may know the terminology, but they don't know shit.
Yeah.
And some of them, they think they know the terminology and they really don't. Like they know just enough to sound like they know their shit, but they don't.
Yeah.
So I've been doing mentorship and been teaching classes for several years now. And what's interesting is that I I love teaching older people because a lot of it you already know. Like as I'm teaching it to you, it's like in your gut, you're like, how do I already know that? But I've
Yeah.
never learned it. It's like I know. It's because our parents were the ones that got assigned to come here to give birth to us and to the following generations. They were like the original star seeds that came here and were planted, that were adults anywhere from the 40s to the 70s. That was a major humongous time. Like I've gotten chills like talking about it. That was a major humongous time in the history of the world in general. Like all of the crazy shit that happened between World War II and the 80s. It's so much. And it was so
Yeah.
documented and everybody knew about it. And the changes that were made there, those people, those souls were so strong in who they were and what they were changing with the world. So that's why those of us that are, I would say, really kids born anywhere from like the 60s to, I would say like 83. I don't know why it seems to be a cutoff right there. 83, 84, like that 20-ish years right there.
Mm-hmm.
They have, the ones that are spiritually connected have such an amazingly different mindset than even the ones that were born from like 84 to 95.
Yeah.
It's so weird. But even that group has a much different mindset than the ones that were born like in the late 90s. It's very weird. Like when you get further into this and you start talking to more people in the spiritual realm of all ages, you'll notice what I'm talking about. You'll notice what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it's not just gravitating toward people that are your age. It's that they're on your spiritual level in a way that you just recognize each other's souls. Like even when you're not even seeing their picture on Zoom, it's like you just know that they're one of your people. You just know
That makes
it.
sense. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, but that is so true, just generationally, with nature. Something you had talked about the other day in regards to the different elements and connecting with, whether it's connecting with wood or whatever it is. So I just started learning how to use the fucking phone like 2 years ago. Like immersing myself into, like TikTok and all that other, goofy stuff. But aside from that, I've spent my entire life, outside in nature and doing woodworking and things like that. So I'm like, oh, okay, there's finally a connection where I can go, like, oh, my wood.
What sign are you?
Leo.
Interesting. Okay. It's interesting that you connect with wood like that. Leos usually connect with like fire.
Yeah. Well, that too. I mean, I'm kind of an all around outdoor, it's all been about nature my whole, off and on my whole life. So,
Gotcha.
but as of the last, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10 years, it's been all about wood. I'm all about wood. That's why my username is Wood Up, which Wood Up 69. So and obviously it sounds phallic, but it's all about I'm just all about wood. So anyway,
I love that though. I mean, it actually tells me you're very grounded in who you are.
I just have to figure out what the fuck I'm doing with it. Yeah.
You'll get there. Like I said, I think you only have like 2 pieces left and everything will fall into place.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I so appreciate
so much
your time and everything else.
Well, let me turn this off and it's going to yell at me. Recording stopped.